will start with module 4, where we are starting with the define phase. So here we will do voice of customer, business case and project charter, project management tools, and analytic tool. Voice of customer will identify and segment the customers for each project and show how the project will impact both internal and external customers. Customer identification. A customer is anyone who is affected by a product or a process. So in order to improve our process, we must understand the voice of the customer, VOC. Customers can be segmented as follow: internal and external customers, customer demographics, industry types. Voice of customer, VOC. By the way, remember this VOC means voice of customers because in exam it just comes as VOC. Most of the time they don't write voice of customer. Customers are both internal and external customers who are impacted by the project. VOC must be sought early on in any project. Internal and external customers includes all functions affected by the product or process at the managerial and workforce level. Internal customers are those from within the organization who are the recipients of another person's department or department output, product, service, or information. External customers are the people or organizations that receive a product, service, or information, but who are not part of the supplying organization. Customer demographics. Segmentation enables an organization to concentrate on vital few customers in their target market by age groups, geographical location, languages, culture, or etc. And by industry type, determines the impact of the project on different industry types, such as hospitals, distributors, packagers, etc. So let me give you a quick example on segmentation of customer by age group, for example. One of the things noticed on banking is most of the seniors don't like the ATM machines or the automated teller machines. So they prefer using the normal teller on the window. So if your bank is dealing or your main target customer is seniors who are doing pension or something like this, it's not feasible to remove the teller job from your branch and just use the teller machine or the ATM. If you are a car like Toyota usually targets the client or the customer who is looking for durable car with a low price. So if you are putting too much luxury in the car, this is not what the customer is looking for and not willing to pay for. And most probably the customer who is looking for a luxurious car will not be looking for a Toyota. Most probably will go for a brand that is known to be luxurious. And if you have an idea, this is one of the ideas that companies like Toyota have other brands under the name, like Lexus. Company like Hyundai have another name under their company, which is Genesis. So because they thought that they can target another branch or area, another type of customers, so they accepted that their customer will never be looking for luxury. So to target luxury pursuing customer, they decided to start a new brand that will be known for luxury from the beginning. Okay, this makes sense for you? Then in the voice of customer, we will start with understanding customer data collection, identify and select the appropriate data collection methods, survey, focus group, interviews, observations. To gather customer data, ensure the data collection method used are reviewed for validity and reliability. Data collection methods should be objective and shed light on customer requirements. They these methods can be used to collect data and information from current and potential customers, survey, focus groups, interviews, customer complaints, market research, mystery shoppers, observations, customer scorecards, data mining, customer audits, lost business analysis. Customer feedback, level of evaluation. So levels of evaluation, you see this graph, you see knowledge, you use interview and customer service records. For behavior, you use observations. For attitude, you use focus group, interviews, and survey. For opinion, you use focus group, interviews, and surveys. Your suburb, this is an activity. Your suburb has a growth in the population of younger residents in recent years, and your high school wants to plan ahead for an influx of students entering the system in few years. Identify the customers for the high school, then determine what sources the school must use to obtain the customer feedback that will help administration plan for and serve their customers. Discuss a method for obtaining information as well as benefits and drawbacks each. So think about it. Okay, are you ready?
So I mean, the only one I can really think of are like surveys or questionnaires that would be sent out. The benefits would be that the answers to the questions they'll be accurate because the customers are actually going to be physically writing out their thoughts and their feedback. But the drawbacks might be that you might not reach the entirety of the audience that you want to reach because, I mean, let's be honest, not many people really take the time to fill out a survey.
Mm-hmm. So, any other thoughts? Okay, who else is ready to share? Okay, proceed.
I'm trying to understand something, right?
Okay.
If we're talking about the drawbacks, right, and the methods of gathering customer information, like Patrick mentioned, most people won't actually even bother completing that form or the customer input. So it's kind of hard sometimes to reach out, because then you don't know if you're going to get that information back or not, the customer's feedback. I feel like sometimes it's better to have a meeting and have like the brainstorm or whatever the case may be, and then from there trying to see if we can get that information.
Oh, that's a good point. You could have like a town hall.
Because at least you put that ownership onto the to like a customer, right?
Yeah.
So when you meet with a team, at least when you're in the conference or whatever the case may be, at least you have everyone's input.
Okay, I hear you. Next one, we will discuss at the end. Of course, I will not interrupt anybody and explain unless until we finish. So, you have any other comments?
If we're targeting the parents as potential customers, we can go into either the elementary school or the middle school in the community that we're looking at, and address the parents at parent-teacher conferences, or communicate through the PTA of the younger students.
Maybe I think another thing that you might want to have is maybe like an open forum where you have people coming and gathering, and then they talk about different ideas of what they want. I think that's another way you can basically reach out to and see what people are thinking of and what they want.
Okay, mainly let me tell you, one of the things we prefer to analyze is what we call customer experience. So I have seen many companies are doing or bringing, for example, I'm talking about hotels. Hotels in Dubai, for example, are bringing customers from the US to Dubai just for flying all the distance from the US to Dubai and back, spend 3 days at the hotel, but just to make them fill 30 pages customer survey at the end. So it depends on how really you are looking, or how much do you care for this information. The next one is I also, I want to bring to your idea that these hotels consider this flight as a part of the customer experience. For them, these guests are not going to be there unless they travel. So they want to understand if after having this trip you still feel that this 3 days stay worth the travel or not. So they consider the travel as a part of the experience. They're giving you a lot. They are actually investing a lot of money just to make you give them a complete survey. And most probably, if you are taking such vacation like this, you are willing to fill 30 pages of survey. At the same time, you may see a lot of travel agencies or aviation companies provide free flights to some of the influencers of the social media influencers, so they can get a full feedback, plus at the same time getting some advertising through these influencers social media. So at the end, I need to bring to your mind that some of the survey ways doesn't work with some certain kind of customers. As we were talking about youth most probably are never going to bother themselves to look at your customer survey sheet or score balance. So if you provide them this online or through social media, it can be better. If you start using the behavior observation can be more practical. If so, with depending on your customer, you can decide what type of feedback you are going to look for. Okay. So guidelines for gathering customer feedback: source of bias and error. If you have too many questions, then interview and surveys. If you are leading questions or wording, so interviews and surveys. If you are asking multiple questions or in one question, you better use focus groups and then interviews. If you are checking legal behaviors, so leading behavior, so it's focus groups and interviews. Difficult to interpret, then focus groups, interviews and observations. Environmental influences, then interviews and observations. Subject to sampling errors, it's then focus groups, interviews, observation and surveys. Subject to poor results, focus groups, interviews, observations and surveys. Then we are going to talk about customer requirements. Define, select, and apply appropriate tools to determine customer needs requirements, including critical to X, CTX, when X can be quality, cost, safety, etc. CTQ tree, quality function deployment, the QFD, or as it's named, house of quality. Supplier input process output, the SIPOC, and Kano model. So CTX, as we know, that outputs, which are Y, are function of X's inputs. So we have the CTQ, CTC, CTD, CTS, depending on what you are focusing on. So CTQ is critical to quality, critical to safety, critical to design, whatever. CTX relationships, internally critical to customer satisfaction means, critical to defects, critical to cost, critical to cycle time. During the define and measure phase, a key process output variable, KPOV, is identified. So represents critical to customer satisfaction. For example, KPOV is amount of scraps that represents critical to cost. KPOV become the process output, the Y or the big Y, as we will learn later. Y is function of X or function of X's. Typically, there is an abundance of X's. Funneling during measure and analyze reduces the large number of X's to a few key process inputs, the KPIVs. CTX alignment or CT3 example. Customer focus is the hallmark of any Six Sigma project. So the CTX alignment is critical. So as you see, good customer service, this is the need. The drivers, knowledgeable representatives, friendly representatives, and wait time. So you start adding the CTX, Knowledgeable representative have information is correct, information is received quickly. Friendly representatives, customer is greeted by name, customer is not interrupted. Wait time is when hold time is minimal and customer is connected to correct person. Customer requirement flow down. This is a product tree. Critical requirements for quality, as you see, and start going down. Critical requirement for quality and start going down. Product, system, subsystem, and part. The QFD, quality function deployment. Quality is meeting customer requirements. Function is what must be done. Deployment refers to who will do it and when it will be done. 4 phase of quality function deployment, starting with functional requirements, voice of the customer, which is functional requirements, critical to satisfaction requirements, part characteristics, which is key part characteristics, key process variables, and key manufacturing process. What you see here is a house of quality. You see voice of customer. So what you see here, number 1, the voice of customer is recorded from interviews, focus group, whatever we were talking about. Number two here, this is a market competitive benchmark is completed like company versus competition. Number 3 is the selling points are scored. Number 4 is the plan is scored. Number 5, company improvement is calculated. Number 6, relative importance of each VOC. Number 7 is the relationship between each VOC item and each design requirement when it's scored. Number 8, this is each relationship score is multiplied by relative importance of the VOC item. Design requirements columns are totaled and the relative design importance is calculated. Number 9 is technical competitive benchmarking may occur and target values or goals may be set. And at last, number 10 is the target category may lead to trade-offs. The categories are smaller the better, nominal the best, and bigger the better. How is your knowledge with voice of quality? How much are you familiar with voice of quality or voice of customer? I mean,
I think most of it is pretty straightforward, but for our green belts, we didn't really have to do too much with it. We just had to like provide it, like have interviews with our customers, which in most cases was our management, because our projects were mostly internal improvements. So I mean, a lot of it was just an interview with our boss to see what they actually wanted from the improvement. So it wasn't very complicated. So depending on who the customer is, I mean, it'll obviously vary in complexity.
Yeah. So I believe.
The other thing as well is to Patrick's point is we actually did it's like a mini interview, like a brainstorming with the stakeholders, right? So it's not like we did, because like Patrick just mentioned, it was more of internal projects.
Yeah.
So, and those are the projects or something that we actually do day-to-day basis. So we kind of knew what the issues were instead of having to reach out to the voice of to the customers and trying to figure out what their issues were.
So let me look for an example. So you see here, this is an example for QFD. You see this example? Is it clear enough for you?
So is this just a tool to help organize and map out like the customer's complaints or like what they like about something, and then what they don't like about it?
Yeah, it's mainly something to visualize and prioritize the customer requirements and how practical it is to your project.
Okay, so like so are these, like, let's say you do have an interview, like let's say the customer is just one person, for example, and you have an interview, these would essentially be the questions you would ask them, and so that you can put down how serious the response is for each one?
Here are what you see here. Do you see this field? What you see here, these are the customer requirements and ranked upon the customer priority.
Right.
This ranks, this is the customer priorities. Okay, so then you put here the house. the resources and what is applicable for you to do, so you may be able to achieve these things. And then in this area you start trying to indicate what kind of relation between the hows and the whats. Got the point? Here, what you see here is how you are going to measure them, and here, this is the technical importance of these methods, as they are going to be or they are coming from your technical department. The department who is technical will tell you, we have to do so, we don't have to do so. So it gets ranking here. This ranking is coming from your technical experts. Okay. So in here's the relation you will find, for example, maximum power output, the relation with the kilowatt ratings, you will find it's a strong relationship. If we are talking, for example, about the long component life, it has a weak relation with total available running hours. It
Yeah.
has a weak
Okay.
relation, which is the triangle. And if we talk about the long component life, it has a strong relation with the component life cycle. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So who decides these relations? It comes from expert or comes from experiment or correlation regression study. Okay. Then what you see here in top, you see the relation between the house. So the roof of this house, if you see here, you have a strong negative relationship between kilowatt ratings and the component life cycle. Is this one clear for you?
Yeah, I mean, I understand all of it except for that top part that you just circled, the correlation
Yeah.
matrix. But it's okay. I'll just have to look at it. You don't have to spend too much time on it.
Yeah, it's easy. If you look at it this way, the total forced outage time, like this, goes this way, and then you go this way, you see that it has a strong positive relationship with the total repair and maintenance time. Okay, what you see in this column, this area, these are the target direction. So the more is better, the less is better, or you have to get specific amount. Okay, so now the QFD or quality function deployment start to make sense. I know at the first look it looks scary, but it's an easy one. It's just a tool to visualize. Okay, again, this area, is it clear now?
Yeah.
Okay, let's continue. Kano model. Are you familiar with the Kano model? Did you go through it in the green belt?
No, I don't think we did.
Okay,
No, we didn't.
anybody of you is familiar with it? Okay, so Kano model is one of the very intelligent ideas to prioritize what to have in your product or in your service, or and what is not, what to invest in and what to not. So what you see here is this how is the excellence, execution excellence. So things when you add, the product is working better, and here is customer satisfaction when customer gets satisfied. So what you see here, this one is standard performance. So these are things whenever they increase, the less they are, the customer gets dissatisfied, but the more you add, customer don't get satisfied, don't get more satisfied. So for the customer, it's there or not. If it's not there, the customer is not satisfied. If it's there, the customer is not going to get more satisfaction from any addition you are going to add. It's something like the kind of metal you are adding to your car is made of metal. If I'm putting the strongest titanium metal in the world, you don't care, right? As long as it's metal and it can protect you, you don't care how strong the metal is. You have something else like they call it the linear, which is more is better. Something like if your car can go more with less fuel, how many miles you can go with a gallon of fuel. So the more miles your car can go, the more is better for you. And we have something here which we call the delighters. These delighters, things the customer didn't expect in the product, but when you put it in your product, the customer is happy. It's something like what they call it's good to have. It's something like having touch screen or having digital speedometer, for example, on your car. So it's something you didn't expect, and if it's not there, you are not angry. You will not be dissatisfied. But if it's not there, you are satisfied. According to Kano, these delighters by time becomes must be's, start to move to be must be's. Like if you remember in cars in old days, the cars with electric window opener was an option. People thought sometimes it's not a very useful option. Right now, it's a must. There is no car with the regular rollers now. It's like the air conditioner in a car. Before it was an option. You choose whether you want it with an air conditioner or not. Now nobody will produce a car without the air conditioner. Okay, so this Kano model for you is clear. Have any question about Kano model? The input and output variables. What is a process? A process is a group of activities that together achieve a specific output, a set of inputs that are transformed into outputs, a common definition of the supplier, inputs, process outputs, and customers for the problem you are trying to solve. The input and output variables. For the process mapping, processes are made up of sub-processes. A sub-process is in turn can be made up of another sub-process, and so on. The CIPOC diagram defines the boundaries of the process. So CIPOC is supplier, input, output, and customers. So here you see the part input, process, and output. You specify who are your suppliers, what input they are putting in, how these things are processed, and what are the outputs of these things, and who are the customers for this process. You see now an example of a CIPOC diagram. Have a look on it.
We did do SciPocs.
You are familiar with CIPOCs already?
Yes.
So any kind of problems you have faced with CIPOC before, we can discuss. Any kind of
I
uncertainty?
didn't have any issues. I don't know about the rest, but I didn't have any issues.
Yeah, SciPocs are pretty straightforward, I think.
Sorry, please repeat.
No, I was just saying I think SciPocs are pretty straightforward, at least for me.
Yeah, okay. So let's move on. Business case and project charter. Describe business case justification used to support projects. Business case is the inputs to the business case is a strategic plan, project description, and business needs. So the business case identifies the financial benefit with the justification and establishes how the project's deliverables align with the organization strategies. The problem statement. Develop a project problem statement and evaluate it in relation to baseline performance and improvement goals. So the project charter is a document negotiated between and approved by management, typically the champion and black belt team leader. Project charter elements include problem statement, business case, why the problem is important to the enterprise, expected bottom line savings, project scope, goal statement, resources required, tentative schedule, team members. So I believe you are familiar with project charter.
Yes.
So we will just have a quick look on project charters because I know you have an idea, and we will close after the project charter. Then problem statement, business case, and scope. Together, a problem statement, the business case, and scope provide detail about the issues that the project team wants to improve. So focus the team on process deficiency, communicate the significance of the process deficiency to others, accurately define the boundaries of the project to prevent scope creep. The problem statement answers the questions what, where, when, how often, and how much. So the problem statement is stated clearly and specifically, is realistic in scope, avoids stating any implied causes and or solutions, describes the problem simply and is easy to understand, provides a clear focus and means to determine the implemented solutions and effectiveness, has quantitative results, and include tentative schedule. So look at these problem statements and tell me what's wrong. Poor quality and low morale have reduced customer satisfaction. We must improve satisfaction. What's wrong in this?
There you're already assuming what the causes are.
Yeah.
So
What else?
like saying poor quality and low morale.
Yeah. What else?
You're also saying that your customers have a poor opinion. So basically, you already know what you're referring to without actually doing the analysis and all this stuff. So you're giving away your problem statement.
Yeah.
You also don't
What
know
else?
that it's stating we must improve satisfaction. So that's like already the answer.
Yeah.
Okay. One more thing.
There isn't anything measurable, so we must improve satisfaction doesn't mean by how much.
Yeah. So I agree with all what you said. Let me add one thing: is the time frame. There is no time frame for this problem statement. Okay.
Correct. Well, there's no
So
time frame, but it says this year though. So that
it says what?
it says that we must decrease our packaging costs by 15% this year.
No, no. These are different problem statements.
Correct.
So I mean, first one, this one which ends here has already known the problem and already knows what they want to do. So no meaning to do Six Sigma projects at all, right? This is what we were explaining at the beginning of the course. You can do Kaizen or do Lean.
Wait. So, yes, please.
The next one, our customers have a poor opinion of our services. Our services must be best in the industry by 2009. Okay, so here there is a schedule or time frame. There is nothing measurable. Poor opinion, it's not defined, and service must be the best in industry is something not defined and not measurable. Here at the last one, vendor costs are going up. We must decrease our packaging cost by 15%. It's it's measurable, but going up is not measurable. And this year it doesn't have a full time frame. Then the project scope, develop and review project boundaries to ensure that the project has value to the customer. So what you do in the project scope, you are scoping the problem, what is in and what is out. Analysis is and is not analysis works by making you deliberately think about the problem and in particular the boundaries of what in and out of scope. It helps focus attention and consequently is more likely to lead the right problem being solved. It prevents scope creep, factors defining limiting project scope. Boundaries set too narrow can restrict teams, may exclude the root cause of the problem. Boundaries set too broad can be beyond teams' resources. Too many interconnected problems may lead to frustration on part of the team. So look at the scope here, scoping the problem. What has this is a problem and what does not has a problem? And what is the problem, what is not the problem? Location, where is the problem and where is not the problem? Timing, where did it appear? Is it a pattern when the problem seen and when the problem is not seen? Impact, how many things have been have the problem and is there a trend? And how many things don't have the problem? Okay, you are familiar with what we are saying, you have no problem with it. So what here you have an example. A manufacturer of health food receives raw ingredients in bulk and labels to be applied for processing and packaging. The processing and packaging operation are as follows: sterilize the bottle, process the raw ingredients, fill the bottles with the processed ingredients, apply labels to the bottles, employ high-speed machines, cold labelers, for applying the labels. However, the best labelers tier some labels, leaving some bottles with torn, unreadable labels causing rework. So look at the scope. Where is the problem in Chicago facility and where is not in Denver facility? What is the problem? Label tiers making text unreadable. What is not tiered to labels? Edges text still readable. When did the problem happen? Production after April 15. What is not production before April 15? How many things have the problem? Health product number A. What is not all other health products? Okay, so this scope is specific and clear. Project definition and scope. Some of the various tools used to develop the project scope and define the project with data are process maps, Pareto charts, cause and effect diagrams, and affinity diagrams. So what you see here is a process map example of brewing coffee. Have a look on it, and if you have any questions, just ask me. Okay, any questions on this process map?
No, no questions.
You are already familiar with the process mapping?
Yes.
Pareto chart, are you familiar with the Pareto charts?
Yes, we are.
Cause and effect diagram or fishbone, you're familiar with it?
Yeah, we did all this on the Six Sigma.
Okay, so and comes with the cause and effect diagram, the 5 whys technique. I believe you are familiar with this as one.
Yes. Yeah.
As well. Okay.
Yep.
Affinity diagrams.
No, I don't think we did this. Not to my.
So let's have a quick look on affinity diagram. Affinity diagram is when you are putting some data and categorize them. Usually, you do affinity diagram using sticky notes on a whiteboard. So you put your you make like columns to categorize your data or your inputs, and you put your data on the sticky notes and put them categorized on the affinity diagram. So this helps you to visualize your resources and all the causes or effects you have. If you look at the example you have in front of you, so here we are talking about the environment. It's you can say that this is something else like the fishbone. So you are looking here, these are the problem and these are the facts of the environment you have. We are talking about original documentation, we are talking about author skills we have, and we are talking about the requirement. Okay, is it okay for you?
Yes.
So today we finish at this point. Tomorrow we start with the business case and the project charter, the goals and objectives.